What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm reviewing a retro of one of my favorite sneakers of all time, and that's no exaggeration, the Air Jordan XI Bred 2019. This 2019 release of the Air Jordan XI Bred will be the 5th time that this sneaker released and the 4th time that this shoe retroed. And it's actually the first time that I've owned it, which is kind of crazy. 2012 was the last time that we had a retro of the Bred 11s, and back then I was a broke college kid. I couldn't afford resale, and with the Nike website the way that it was just impossible to grab a pair if you didn't have a bot. So I was kind of left out to dry, so I ended up grabbing the low top version of this shoe, which I believe dropped in the summer of 2015, but it just isn't the same. This is the classic Bred 11. This is the shoe that I wanted. Not some low top knockoff, not that it was a knockoff, but it felt like a knockoff. It didn't feel like the real thing. I was born in '92, so I was able to see Michael Jordan play on TV for a couple years once I actually became old enough to understand what was going on. And even as a young kid, it was just so obvious how amazing of a player he was. So it's always been cool to be able to buy the same sneakers that he wore when he was doing incredible things. The Air Jordan 11 released in 1995 when I was 3 years old, and it quickly became one of the most popular Air Jordan models ever made. In fact, I believe it's Sneaker Hatfield's favorite shoe he's ever designed. And I totally understand it because it's a really incredibly designed sneaker and it just looks so clean both on and off the court. In fact, the Bred colorway of the Air Jordan 11 was one of Michael Jordan's most worn pairs of 11s, and that's why this is one of the most popular colorways as well. I personally love this colorway because it has red on the bottom, which is my favorite color, so I always like that about it, but it's just such a clean sneaker and one that I've always wanted, and now finally having it for myself is a pretty cool feeling. The Air Jordan 11 Bred officially retros for the 4th time on December 14th for $220. However, there was actually a pretty limited surprise sneakers drop last week, which I totally struck out on, but huge thank you to Don for looking out for me because he was able to grab me this pair. Can't thank you enough, man. That was just a huge help. And I've got to say that I think this is one of the best sneakers releases of the entire year. It's definitely going to be in my top 10, might even be in my top 5, possibly top 3, we'll just have to wait and see. And it's not just because it's a colorway that I love, it's because of all the little details that make this shoe much truer to the OG than previous releases. But really quick, before we take a look at the shoe itself, let's take a look at the box. Unlike a lot of the more recent Air Jordan 11 Christmas releases, this box is designed to look just like the OG. On the top of the box, you've got a natural cardboard finish with a black Nike swoosh. On the front of the box, the top of the lid has an orange finish with the text "Just Do It" printed on the center of it, and the bottom half comes in plain black. One of the ends of the box has a size tag in the corner, and the other end has an orange top and a black bottom with the Nike logo printed on the center. The back of the box comes in black with some text that reads, "Engineered and built to the exact specifications of championship athletes from around the world." Oh, and of course, in case you couldn't tell, it's not one of those slide-out Air Jordan 11 boxes, it's just a normal flip-open box top. And inside the box, you've got this black and metallic silver card with the Jumpman on the top that actually reads, "The Air Jordan 11 is one of the most iconic silhouettes in the history of sneakers. This season, Jordan Brand celebrates this model by delivering detailed craftsmanship honoring MJ's first Triple Crown run. League MVP, All-Star MVP, Finals MVP." That's crazy impressive. This instant classic will leave you saying, it's gotta be the shoes. I don't think it's fair to attribute all of Michael Jordan's success completely to his sneakers, but hey, you know, it might have been the shoes a little bit. But with this awesome box out of the way, let's get right into the sneakers themselves. This 2019 holiday Air Jordan 11 release comes in the Bred colorway. And if you're not familiar with what Bred stands for, it's just the words black and red kind of mashed together. And as the name would suggest, the shoe comes in a very clean black and red Chicago Bulls colorway. Starting off from the toe of the shoe, you've got the signature, incredibly glossy black patent leather. Unlike some of the more recent Air Jordan 11 releases, like some of the early 2010s releases, the patent leather is a much higher cut, which is a lot truer to the original release. Over the last 2 years, we have seen a couple releases with the higher patent leather cut, like the Space Jams and the Concords, and I've got to be honest, I like it better, but I totally understand where people are coming from when they say that they prefer the lower patent leather. In my opinion, the higher patent leather makes the shoe more proportional and truer to the original design. However, I know that some people like the lower patent leather because it looks a little bit sleeker, which I totally understand. To be honest, it doesn't really make that big of a difference, and if you really don't like this shoe because of the higher patent leather cut, just don't buy it. I think that's a stupid reason not to buy it, but hey, that's just me. Another detail that was present on some of the earlier pairs are these peaks around the top of the patent leather. I remember back in 2010 and 2011 how people thought that peaks meant that the shoe was fake because a lot of the newer releases just didn't have them. That wasn't the case back in 1995 when the shoe first released with peaks, and that's not the case in 2019 because the shoe also has them as well. And if you're wondering where the peaks are from, it wasn't originally a design detail, it was just kind of a leftover from manufacturing. Now I think it's actually done on purpose to make the shoes look more like the original, but back then it was not something that I think Jordan Brand really wanted. The patent leather panel wraps all the way around the bottom of the upper until it meets the seam on the heel and the seam on the medial side. If for some reason you've never owned a pair of patent leather Air Jordan 11s before, something to keep in mind is that the patent leather will crease around the toe. There's pretty much nothing you can do about it. Unlike shoes like the Jordan 1 where the creasing actually makes the shoe look better, the creasing in Air Jordan 11s doesn't look great, and it's something that I wish wouldn't happen, but it's just kind of the nature of the material. Continuing up on the shoe, you get to that classic Air Jordan 11 ballistic nylon, this time around in black. Of course, like most other Air Jordan 11s, you've got your thick rope laces, and holding the rope laces in place, you've got the signature Air Jordan 11 nylon bands, also in black. The tongue of the Bred 11s is pretty plain and also comes in black ballistic nylon, and of course you've got that patch running across the center of the tongue that says Jumpman Jordan sideways. Growing up, I used to think that was just weird symbols. I didn't know what it meant. And then I turned the shoe sideways and it all made sense. Moving inside the shoe, on the back of the tongue, you've got this patch that says quality basketball products inspired by the greatest player ever. The sock liner of the shoe comes in a nicely padded black fabric, and the insole of the shoe also comes in black with the Nike Air branding printed in white on the heel. As for sizing, the 2019 Air Jordan 11 Bred fits just like every other Air Jordan 11. For me, that's true to size. For you, it might be something different. But as I always suggest, if you have the chance to try the shoe on first before you buy it, make sure to do that to make sure you're grabbing the right size for you. Construction and sizing wise, the 2019 Bred is almost identical to the 2018 Concord, so if you have a pair of these, just grab the same size. Continuing back on the sneaker towards the heel, you've got this smooth black leather panel that actually wraps all the way around the back of the shoe. And on that panel, you've got a red embroidered Jumpman that faces towards the front of the shoe on both sides of the pair. Then moving around to the back of the sneaker, you've got your 23 logo printed on the top of the heel. Unfortunately, it's printed and not embroidered, so it won't last forever, but at least it's a 23 and not a 45. Then moving down on the shoe, you've got that classic textured Air Jordan 11 midsole in a stunning bright white. And then moving to the bottom of the sneaker, you've got one of my favorite parts of the shoe with the semi-translucent red rubber outsole. Like most other Air Jordan 11s, you've got your traction pod in the forefoot and on the heel, and both come in black. You can also see the Jumpman on the midfoot through the semi-translucent rubber. And then rounding off the bottom of the shoe on the medial side, you've got this black and white checkered carbon fiber plate. The Bred 11s are by far one of my favorite sneakers of all time, like in the top 3 for me. It's like the Bred 1s, the Chicago 1s, and then the Bred 11s. They're that high on the list. It's not just the fact that this shoe looks so good, it's also the fact that this shoe has so much history behind it, and this colorway in particular. Plus, like I said, I just love red, so it makes sense. Also, the Bred 11 colorway is pretty easy to keep clean. The nylon areas that usually stain on white colorways are black, so you're not going to get any stains, or if you do, you won't really see them. And the outsole, unlike the Concords, isn't icy blue, so it's not going to yellow on you, which is kind of nice. Regardless of how easy this colorway is to keep clean, I still think it's the best colorway because of the actual colors that they used. The red and the black just go together so nicely. If you're a sneakerhead and you don't have a pair of Bred 11s in your collection, I definitely suggest picking up this pair when it releases on December 14th. It's just one of those classic sneakers that everyone needs to have. In fact, I think personally I'm probably going to double up on this shoe. If you missed out on the surprise early sneakers release last week, like I did, the good news is there's going to be a ton of pairs available when this shoe actually releases in December. So don't pay resale. Sorry all the people who bought to resell. I don't know why you did. The shoe probably doesn't have much resale value, but you definitely shouldn't have a hard time grabbing the shoe when it drops. In fact, you might even be able to grab multiple pairs. Something the Jordan Brand really seems to be doing is mass producing their very popular sneakers, which makes total sense. When it comes to classic sneakers like the Bred Jordan 11s or the Bred 4s that released earlier this year, they're producing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pairs. And the reason they're doing that is obvious, because there's just that much demand for those sneakers. Unlike some of the newer colorways of these shoes that release throughout the year that just don't seem to sell out, these colorways will always sell out. So rather than letting the resellers make all the money off of the demand, they decided to do it themselves and make a ton of different pairs so that everyone who wants a pair can have a pair. And they're getting $220 for every single pair that they're selling. So they're making some pretty decent money off of them. I mean, decent's an understatement. They're making insane money off of these pairs, and it just makes total sense. The one thing that kind of stinks is that every couple years they seem to increase the price of Jordans by a pretty significant amount, whether it's $10 or $20. Let's be honest, $220 is not cheap cheap for a pair of 11s. I think when they first released back in 1995, they were retailing for $125, which is kind of crazy to think. Obviously, some of these markups are due to inflation, but I definitely think there is some padding in there somewhere. That said, I still think it's a great shoe, and I still think it's worth picking up. But now I would love to know your thoughts on the 2019 Air Jordan XI Bred, and whether you're planning to grab a pair on December 14th when they officially drop, or whether you grabbed a pair on that surprise shock drop on the sneakers app. So let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.